Chapter 37. Leo, why don't you talk? Are you unhappy to see me? She pouted and said, You haven't seen me for so long, and you don't miss me. I have decided not to like you anymore and to abandon you. Speaking of this, she giggled again and said, Leo, if I don't like you, what do you think you should do? I guess you will have nothing in your life because no woman would like to be with a cold piece of ice like you. After that, she tutted, showing her deep sympathy for his experience. Kevin walked steadily into the elevator with her in his arms, still ignoring her. The woman kept on saying, You say that you are 28 years old, but why don't you find a girlfriend to take care of you? Do you want the Kyle family to have no descendants? Or should you obey your grandfather and marry me? Shut up, Kevin squeezed out 2 words from his mouth. He really wanted to throw this drunken girl on the street to accompany those vagabonds. Although Kevin was very angry with her and he was extremely irritated, he still held her mildly and wrapped her with his suit coat to prevent her from getting a cold. Leo, put me down. I can walk on my own. Walking out of the glamorous hall, the girl twisted in Kevin's arms, trying to escape from him. Kevin lowered his head to look at her and warned, Just you try moving again. The girl ignored his warning, raised her head from his arms, and pouted, Come on, kiss me then. Kevin grimaced and loosened his grip, attempting to toss her out. The woman quickly reached out and wrapped her arms around his neck. Leo, if you don't kiss me, I'll find another man to kiss me. I will have an affair with him, you watch out. Kevin frowned and gritted his teeth. The woman continued to provoke him. You may take me home now. If you dare, tie me up, but I will always find an opportunity to sneak out. Then, I wouldn't know what I will do. While speaking, the woman glanced to the left with her beautiful almond-shaped eyes. When she saw a figure holding the camera in the distance, she curled her lips and smiled slyly. Kevin held on to her tighter, and his eyes were full of restraint. If he was not worried that his mother would not be able to handle the heartache, he would tie her up and ship her off to Europe. And he clearly knew that this girl, who was not afraid of anything, she was not only babbling, but also could really do what she threatens. It was impossible for him to stay by her side all the time. If she were to take advantage of his absence, if she would really... You won't kiss me, isn't that right? The woman grabbed him and kissed him on the face while he was not paying attention. Then she glanced left and saw an okay gesture on the other side. She was relieved. She knew that the person she invited was done with his work. Tomorrow's front-page headlines would definitely be that this up-and-coming actress, Polaris, was caught in a scandal with another man. So how about this? The worst things, written in the most unpleasant manner, would be published. She wanted to create some rumors and spread them, to see how this cold man would react. As the purpose of her performance today had been accomplished, the girl became much more obedient. She leaned into Kevin's arms and fell asleep after a while. After placing the girl in the car, Kevin got in and sat down beside her. The girl found a comfortable position within his arms the moment he got in, lying on him as she did when she was a child. Looking at her small face, which looked like a kitten, Kevin sighed silently and looked at her much more softly. What a troublesome little girl. The driver, Mr. Watson, quietly glanced at them from the rearview mirror, thinking of how only this young lady could make their young master panic that way. The driver asked, Young master, where are we going? Kevin replied, Back to Santa Bay. The Kyle family did not have a stronghold in California, and hence, they did not have a permanent residence there. The house where Kevin and Karen now lived was purchased by Kevin before he came to California as a temporary residence. Santa Bay was a top villa district developed by Rovio Corporation in California. It was located in the coastal area of California, built by the sea. Since it was located in such a beautiful area, the villas here had already been sold at high prices when it was launched. But many people still wanted to buy them. However, they were not able to buy them. The projects developed by Rovio Corporation always did not lack buyers, so they could pick their buyers. One could not buy these properties only with money. They must also come from a prestigious family. The most mysterious villa in the Santa Bay was named Secret Garden. The reason why Secret Garden was mysterious was that it was designed and built by Kevin himself. It was renovated a year and a half ago. It took nearly a year to complete the renovation. Now it could be lived in. Kevin had planned to move in there with Karen in a few days, but he didn't expect the girl in his arms to make more trouble so soon. When they arrived at the villa at Santa Bay, several servants greeted them with smiles. Young master, miss. Go and prepare clean clothes, tidy up her room and warm her bed. Kevin said and strode towards the swimming pool with the girl in his arms. He stood by the pool and threw the girl in his arms into it. Splash! Help! Help! The girl, who had been sleeping soundly, shouted for help immediately. After a while, she stopped, swimming towards the area where the water was shallow. She raised her head and glared at him. Are you trying to murder me for money? Kevin sat down on a reclining chair and gracefully crossed his legs. Take a look at yourself. Are you a human or a ghost, causing trouble all day long? The girl ignored him and climbed the ladder out of the pool. Kevin said in a deep voice, Stay there. Who has asked you to come up? The girl's mouth thinned and tears began to spill from her eyes. I'm already 18 years old. Why should you care about me? Kevin stared at her and looked her up and down. You are 18 years old? Are you even an adult? Can you wear such clothes and hang out outside? Although the girl was upset, she did not dare to climb up again. She had to retreat back to the pool and stood there obediently. I'm cold. Do you still know what cold is when you're dressed like that? Brother. Glad that you still know that I'm your brother. I thought you have forgotten that you are from the Kyle family. When it came to this sister of his, Kevin always had a headache. Brother? The girl raised her hand to rub her eyes. Her little mouth was trembling, and large tears splashed down her face. I'm really cold. Kevin steeled himself and said, Tell me first, do you realize what your mistake was? The girl lowered her head and bit her lip, unwilling to admit her mistake. Kevin raised his eyebrows and said sternly, Have you forgotten all the manners you learned when you were a child? Do you not need to answer me when I talk to you? Chapter 38. The girl raised her head and said angrily, I'm 18 years old and no longer a child. Why can you do whatever you want? Why do you still want to control what I do? Kevin said sternly, Just because I am your brother. So what if you are my brother? Does it mean you can throw me in the pool? Does it mean you can be mean to me? Saying this, the girl cried loudly without a care in the world, sobbing loudly. It's useless to cry. With this attitude, I will make you go home and face the wall and repent for 3 months, and write 300 lines. Knowing that the young lady was just pretending to be upset, Kevin remained hard-hearted that he would not be softened by her act. You don't like me. You don't want me anymore. You always bully me. The more she said, the more she cried. Don't change the topic. We are talking about what just happened tonight. Kevin emphasized this fact. You are bullying me. The girl wiped her eyes and stared at Kevin with her red eyes. Kevin said angrily, Mia Kyle. Mia rubbed her eyes and screamed. What? Can't I speak the truth now? Keep yourself together and go back to Europe tomorrow. Learn some manners, learn how to respect your elders, and learn what is integrity. If you still can't practice it, don't you ever think about going out again. After saying these words, Kevin stood up and turned away, leaving no chance for her to retort. Mia was so anxious that she said, Kevin, who gives you the right to do that? I'm 18 years old and I'm an adult now. You can't interfere with my freedom. Kevin stopped and turned around. Call in your elders by name. You have no respect for your elders. Repent for another month and I'll add another 100 lines. Kevin? 5 months. Mia screamed in anger, but she didn't dare say anything anymore. She also knew that her brother would never compromise. If she did something wrong, the other family elders might spare her, but this brother would never give her any room for negotiation. He had been taking care of her since she was a child. It was always, this is not allowed, that was not allowed. When she stands, there had to be a correct standing posture. When she sits, there had to be a correct sitting posture. If she behaved inappropriately, she had to learn etiquette again. When she was little, Kevin was still young. That was why he had time to take care of her. Now that she was already 18 and that he was 28, why wouldn't he get into a relationship? Why does he still want to control his sister? This cold-hearted man would punish such a beautiful girl like her. He deserved not to be loved by any girl in his life. Miss, young master is doing all of this for your own good. Aunt Anne, the nanny of the Kyle family, came over and said with a smile, He loves you so much. How could he bully you? Aunt Anne, even you speak for him. I don't want to live anymore. Mia was furious. If she was grounded, what was she supposed to do with her budding acting career? Aunt Anne smiled and said, Miss, get up quickly. If you don't get up now, you might catch a cold. If you catch a cold, you'll need to take medicine. Hearing that she was going to need medicine, Mia rushed out of the pool and asked for Aunt Anne to help her put on the bathrobe. Aunt Anne said again, Miss, I will accompany you to the room to wash up. Later, I will find time to persuade young master so that he might reduce your punishments. Mia did not dare to think about it, because since she was young, as long as she fell into his hands, she had never escaped his punishment. But now she was an adult. For her acting career, she had to fight no matter what. After washing up, Mia changed into a set of clean and warm pajamas. She was just 18 years old, and her beautiful face was pink and tender. She was quite attractive. She put her little head against the door and listened for a while. Then she took a deep breath and raised her hand to knock on the door. Only when she heard the word "come in" did she dare open the door and enter. She walked over to Kevin's desk and lowered her head. Kevin. Kevin looked up at her. The thick makeup on her face had been washed away. It seemed that she was now more pleasing to the eye. His voice unconsciously softened. What's the matter? Nothing. Mia ran behind him and massaged his back gently with her fists. You're tired of your work. I'll massage for you so that you can relax. Kevin took her hand away and said, Sleep early if you have nothing to do. Your flight to Europe is tomorrow morning. Kevin, I've just taken on a role in a TV drama. The contract has been signed, and I'm waiting to join the cast. Mia grinned cheekily. After being oppressed for so many years, she finally understood that she must learn to adapt. I will send someone to help you deal with these things. Kevin did not intend to let her go at all. The children of the Kyle family could never be involved in the entertainment industry. She had only been at it for half a year, and she was already dressed like that, dancing with a man. If she stayed any longer, she might have done something worse. Mia was so anxious that she gritted her teeth and emphasized, I have signed the contract. If I break the contract, the compensation is 10 times the amount. I've told you. I'll send someone to deal with it. Kevin's voice was stern. He was like an elder teaching his disobedient children a lesson. What gives you the right? Huh? Kevin raised his eyebrows and stopped Mia's words. Fine, I'll go back. I'll tell Grandpa about this when I go back. I'll tell him that you keep bullying me and let him unleash his anger for me. Mia knew that Kevin would not let her go, so she stopped trying. She could only think of other ways. She would never go back to Europe. As for how she could stay here, she had to think of another way. She would never let her conservative, old-fashioned brother catch her again. After Mia left the room, Kevin called and asked for Aunt Anne to cook a bowl of ginger soup for Mia. He would not let her catch a cold. After explaining to Aunt Anne carefully, Kevin continued with his work and was busy until 1 o'clock in the morning. Before he went back to bed, he went to Mia's room first, tucked her in, and covered her with the covers. This little girl, when will you grow up? When will you not let others worry about you? Kevin touched her forehead with a gentle smile that had never been seen in his eyes, and his tone was full of love. He stroked her forehead and said, Sleep well. I'll send you back to Europe tomorrow. I don't have time to take care of you here. After that, he tucked in her quilt and then he got up and left. Zach Becker. As soon as he walked towards the door, he heard Mia murmur this name in her sleep, which made his face darken suddenly. He looked very frightening. The next day, Kevin sat in the living room reading the newspapers and was waiting for Mia to get up to have breakfast together. After a while, Aunt Anne ran downstairs in a panic. Young master, Miss Mia is missing. Chapter 39. She's gone? Kevin asked without raising his head while reading the newspaper in his hand. Yes, young master. Aunt Anne nodded in panic. Alert Jackie Ball on this. Call me immediately if there is anything. If something like what happened yesterday happens again, even if I have to tie her up, I will. Kevin put down the newspaper in his hand and got up to go to the kitchen. All right. Aunt Anne nodded repeatedly. Kevin finished his breakfast alone, and then asked the driver, Mr. Watson, to drive him to Innovative Tech. As soon as Kevin left, Mia came down the stairs with a swagger, holding Aunt Anne and acting coyly. Aunt Anne, thank you for helping me so much. I really love you so much. Aunt Anne said with lingering fear. I was scared to death just now. I thought that young master had known we were lying to him. He's not a god. How could he know that I'm upstairs? Mia said while wearing a cap and sunglasses. Aunt Anne, I'm leaving. I'll bring you out for a treat after I finish filming. Miss, go after breakfast. Before she could finish her words, Mia had already run away. It was not easy to escape from Kevin's grasp. Mia did not want to stay there any longer. The only way out of the villa was through the main road. The silver Bentley was stopped in an inconspicuous place. If you didn't pay attention, you couldn't see it at all. Seeing Mia running out in a hurry, the driver, Mr. Watson, looked at Kevin's face from the rearview mirror. Young master, do you want to order for some people to follow the young lady? Kevin raised his hand and rubbed his temple. His gentle eyes fell on the beautiful figure who was running farther and further away. Let Jackie accompany her with someone else. Don't let anything happen to her like last night. After that, Kevin made another phone call. Arrange for the best manager for Polaris, and then send 2 more personal assistants to her. The most important thing is to make sure the script is safe. Not even kissing is allowed. He knew what the little girl was up to at a glance. However, as she said, she was already an adult. She had things she wants to do. Her brothers should let her try and no longer restrain her. Karen could not reach Kevin by phone at all, so she was worried that something bad had happened to him. She didn't sleep well the previous night. In the morning, she got up early and came to the office with a pair of dark eye circles. When she arrived at the lobby on the ground floor, she did not go upstairs immediately. Instead, she found a seat to sit down and wanted to confirm with her own eyes that Kevin was all right. About half an hour later, the employees of the company came in one after another and went upstairs in batches. Karen finally saw Kevin coming in with Nick and Amelia. Seeing that he was fine, Karen finally felt relieved. She glanced at him and sneaked into the crowd, pretending not to see him. Good morning, Director Kevin. Everyone was busy greeting Kevin. Kevin glanced at the crowd and immediately saw Karen. Seeing that she was not looking well, he hinted at Amelia. Amelia immediately understood what her boss meant. She smiled and said, Karen, Director Kevin wants to talk to you about a project. Come with us. Suddenly being summoned, Karen was stunned. She knew that Kevin had no project to talk about, but she couldn't say so in front of so many people. She had to go over obediently, and she went into the elevator with Kevin. Inside the elevator made for 12, there were only 4 people, but Karen felt very uncomfortable because all eyes were on her. If it were only her and Kevin, she would still try to talk. But Nick and Amelia were also there, so Karen really didn't know what to say. Amelia was a smart person. She immediately pressed the button for the next floor and said, Director Kevin, Nick and I are going to discuss some things with Manager Emma of the Public Relations Department, so we won't go upstairs with you. When the elevator door opened, Amelia and Nick quickly left, leaving the space for the couple. In the elevator, Kevin stared at Karen and said after a long silence, "Did you sleep well last night?" Karen kept her head down and said nothing. Kevin pulled her into his arms and hugged her gently. His eyes under his golden glasses were shining. "You miss me that much?" Karen pushed him away. "Who misses you?" Kevin raised his eyebrows slightly and reached out to touch her head. "You really didn't miss me?" Karen slapped his hand away. "Don't simply touch me. There's a camera here." Kevin raised his eyebrows. "So what?" Karen glared at him and pushed the button for the 19th floor. If someone saw her and Kevin in the office together, she would be known as a slut who would steal husbands. Kevin pulled Karen back and asked, "Why didn't you sleep well?" "What do you think?" Karen felt hurt while thinking about the reason. Karen had called Kevin last night, but his number was busy, which made her think that Charlie had played some tricks on him. Karen was so worried that she didn't sleep well all night. He still had the nerve to ask her why she didn't sleep well. "Are you angry that I didn't accompany you last night?" Looking at Karen, Kevin could only think of this reason. Ding dong. The elevator stopped on the 19th floor, and the door opened. She pursed her lips and looked at Kevin sadly, then turned around and left. Kevin, who was alone in the elevator, raised his lips slightly. He had never expected that Karen would get so attached to him in such a short time. After Goop Corp announced that they would no longer cooperate with Innovative Tech, many companies who had connections with Innovative Tech decided that there would be no chance for them to cooperate as well, even for ongoing projects. Companies that had worked together with them in the past did not plan on doing new projects now. Suddenly, Karen's sales department fell into a black hole. The old business partners did not want to bring on new projects, and the people in charge had even disappeared. It was obvious that these companies did not want to work with Innovative Tech anymore. The whole sales department was very idle. Karen was so bored that she was reading through projects Innovative Tech had done before, so as to learn from it to gain experience and improve. "Oh my gosh, what?" Someone suddenly screamed in the office, attracting everyone's attention. Karen also looked up and saw that the new intern Alice Cole had covered her mouth and shouted repeatedly. It could not be seen from her expression whether she was upset or happy. May, as a busybody, as she is, hurried over and asked, "What's wrong?" Alice pointed to the computer screen and said, "I've received a tweet saying that my goddess, Polaris, has a boyfriend. How could she fall in love so soon? I'm in love with her. How did she fall in love with someone else? Polaris, is she the one who recently starred in that popular teen idol drama?" May looked at several photos on the computer. "Hey, this man's back looks so familiar. I seem to have seen it somewhere."